kind of start out with, that's where I feel like I was driven to, you get in what you put out. And sometimes what I've realized now is you don't get anything with what you put in. It's like sometimes you give your best as you're doing open houses every weekend and you don't get anything. But what I've learned is I feel like when I put my trust in God, I give my 100%, like the rest will come out naturally. Yo, I have my lender team, which is gonna be you, right? I got Alex, what's going on with this? What if this? I mean, the other day I asked you about this, the flood question, right?
Yeah, the flood plains, yeah.
Having practically your team set up for every deal and transaction, that's plan A, right?
Yes.
But then plan B, it's like, what did people not see behind the curtains? And that's like when you have those self-doubts. And that for me, I'm so blessed that I have my family still. Like I still have my parents in town, alive, that they're constantly encouraging me, like, you know, dale mijo, 100%. You're right, you know what I mean? Yo, you're everything. And so thinking of just more than me, what can the team do not to just produce, but to also impact people around me? That's the vision I love, and that's the vision I want to partner with. And so it's not just how much can John produce, but rather like how much can John change the world?
Ooh,
right? Because it's not, at the end of the day, it's like, oh man, I went to work today, we got under contract.
So Jonathan, you've been in real estate, what, almost 2 years now?
It's almost about 3 because
3 years now?
Because I was able to start early by learning how to wholesale real estate. So that was a grind, but I was able to do that and figure out kind of the ropes prior to getting my license.
So what's wholesale real estate?
Wholesaling real estate was me being able to find deals that investors, fix and flip investors, could potentially invest in. But I would get almost like a finder's fee by getting the deal pretty much put together, the first third of finding the deal, getting it under contract, and then pretty much just presenting it to the investor with all the numbers fixed out.
Very cool.
So that was a good like little start to get my feet wet with the real estate thing.
For sure. How did you end up there?
I was just looking for kind of things that I could do remotely, because technically you can do it anywhere without a license, which is kind of tricky and very dangerous, which I didn't like, because eventually I was like, I don't want to get sued potentially, you know, for doing something wrong.
Definitely.
And so I, you know, with the time that I was there doing that, I was like, okay, I'm going to remove myself. And once you're held at a standard with a real estate license and being under the Realtor Association, there's a much safer standard that I feel a lot more comfortable with.
Totally. And so, I mean, you're pretty young. You're 22 years old. And what in the world made you get into real estate? I mean, most other kids or people your age, right? Kind of coming out of high school, they're confused. They're not really sure what they want to do, or they just follow into the college path because, well, that's what you're supposed to do. So what happened in your high school career, I guess, or in your life that influenced you towards real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think like you're presented all these options. You have college, you have, you know, getting into like a trade. That's another common one a lot of people like to do, is like get into a trade. You can go into college, or you can just kind of like figure things out on your own. And I was in college for a little bit. I was trying to learn how to do business. And I was sitting in those classes for quite a few, you know, a couple of weeks. And then I kind of like was driving myself a little crazy. I was like, everyone around me all they're doing is just drinking. All they're doing is just going into parties. And so I kind of took a step back and I was like, is this really the crowd that I want to be in? First of all. And then the second thing, I was like, these professors, they're capped at a rate of, you know, the professor salary, and it's not to throw any shots, but I was like, I really want to learn from people. If I want to be a business major and make my own business, I was like, I can either go the financial route and kind of do something there, or I can go the hard way and learn. Sometimes I kind of go on and on about that decision if I made the right one, because I feel like we'll never know what the other option would have looked like. But I began looking at like, okay, I'm going to grab a bunch of business owners and I'm going to see what they did. And throughout that process of people being like, I didn't go to college, or some people did, and then they kind of switched up their profession a little bit, I kind of realized that like a lot of people didn't use their college degree. And so that kind of like threw me off course. And I was like, okay, I got to really evaluate my next 4 years here. Is it I'm going to get a degree and kind of figure it out afterwards, or can I do something with these next 4 years and then go ahead and make my start, right? Definitely. And so I speak Spanish. I don't know if you knew that.
Of course.
So we speak Spanish, and honestly a really big up, I think, because we're able to hit two different groups of ethnicity. And the U.S. population that's prominent, you know, English speakers, or the Spanish speaking community as well. So then I thought about, I was like, the biggest misconception of real estate is that you can make a whole ton of money. But I think,
wait, you can't just start making a bunch of money and it's like, wait, see what? Just doesn't land on your lap?
that's the biggest lie. It's like everyone's like, man, I want to get into real estate to make all this money. And it's like, that's not what's going on. But I think under the proper leadership and under the proper sacrifice that you would make under a team, under, you know, whatever system you kind of start out with, that's where I feel like I was driven to, you get in what you put out. And sometimes what I've realized now is you don't get anything with what you put in. It's like sometimes you give your best. You're doing open houses every weekend and you don't get anything. But what I've learned is I feel like when I put my trust in God, I give my 100%, like the rest will come out naturally.
Yeah, and those are super good points, right? So you brought up a couple of things there that are very, very important, especially for people who are setting out into like a new business venture, not just real estate. And I've been grinding for a month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for 9 months, a year, and I'm still not seeing the results that either I thought I should have by now.
Tell me about it.
Right? Or the results that, like anything at all, like the other people that have been here for the same amount of time as me are getting.
Yeah.
Like there's gotta be something wrong with me. Like I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not cut out for this specific business, right?
Right.
So how, I know that you're very deep in your faith and you find that that's like what's really helped you kind of get through those periods of like high doubt. What technique, what kind of method, I guess, do you utilize to kind of get through those times where you're like just absolutely doubting?
100%. I mean, I didn't get my first break like until 6 months because I feel like everyone finds themselves in this trap, especially starting real estate, where you go, I'm a real estate agent, you post it on your Instagram and you hope all these deals come your way and you're like, nothing. You ask people, you're like, hey, I'm a new agent. And that's kind of like, that's a red flag. Like a new agent, let's do our first deal of the biggest purchase of our life with you. You know, you're like, oh, like that. It's a hard start. And then on top of that, being 22, you're a baby. Everyone looks at you and you're like, oh, you're just a high schooler. And it's like, whoa, what? Like I'm starting, like I'm learning. And so the first 6 months, I had the same feelings. I was like, what? I'm like, there's no progress. When I felt like there was no traction. And so I should have gone to college. Exactly. I was like, I made the wrong move. And I think that first of all, the biggest system is having a support system while you're doing real estate or something of that matter. Whether you're starting your own business or anything, I think people have this notion of like, I'm gonna go all in real estate and it's just gonna work. And it's like, that could happen if you have deals lined up for you. Some people have it luckily where they have like their parents want to do a transaction, or they want a couple of their cousins or whatever, and then you have deals lined up for you. That's how you start. That's a great start.
Family, right? You got to start family, close friends.
I just kind of like figured it out with, okay, I got my license. I'm working another part-time job, figuring those things out because you still got to eat somehow, you know? And so with all of those things combined, I realized I was like, okay, Lord, I'm not only by my work, like I had to be there. I can't just expect it to fall into my lap. Although sometimes with God, sometimes that's how it feels. I'm like, oh, this could have only been you, man. This could have only been you and not me. But it does take our participation and our obedience to then see the fruit of our actions and the fruit of our deeds. It just doesn't happen on its own. So it's like, okay, you put in the work and God's going to put in, you know, his favor. And have you heard the saying like, pray like it's up to God and then work like it's up to you? That helped me for a long time.
It's like, but I work with faith.
Yeah. And I'm kind of changing that paradigm a little bit. And it's kind of now more like pray because it's up to God and work because it's for him.
There you go.
And so I'm trying to change it because it is up to him at the end of the day. And you work because it's for him. So
totally.
I really appreciate those things. And I know you've been diving into your faith. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't necessarily, not to get into like religious here, but I don't necessarily associate or affiliate with like a specific church or thought group, if you will. But I can tell you that throughout life, you will have sufficient, a good amount of challenges coming your way. And it's not until you surrender to a certain level, to a certain process of natural law that couldn't make sense unless there was something greater, like really taking charge of it.
Yeah.
That you start to understand that there's absolutely something greater than yourself and than all of us out there, that we're all part of, that makes, like, connects us all.
Yeah.
And once you are able to accept that, you have to surrender to the process and be able to find the faith. And faith just means still putting in the work even when the doubt is present.
Yeah.
That's working in faith. That's just, continuing to grind even though the biggest enemy is present.
True.
And the biggest enemy is not realtor Johnny, lender Sarah, right? It's none of them. It is the ego within, right? That little devil that's saying, you're not good enough. Like,
Right.
you should probably not do that. That's it's not going to work out for you.
Right.
And still be able to get through that. I think that's like the work in faith. And when you work in faith, somehow things start to kind of work for you. And there's got to be a greater force there at play. Absolutely.
100% agree.
So you did mention having a support system. So, like, who do you consider where or still are your support system?
A ton of things. I mean, people like you have to get a good team around you, especially just a real estate team. Talking practically, you have to have your team set up.
Right.
You have to have your escrow and title team locked down. You have to have your people that you lean on for those questions, because even though you try to know it all as a realtor, we try to pretend to know it all, you can't know it all. And so it's humble enough to just be like, yo, I have my lender team, which is going to be you, right? I got Alex, what's going on with this? What if this? I mean, the other day I asked you about the flood question, right?
Yeah, the flood
so
plains. Yeah.
Having practically your team set up for every deal and transaction, that's plan A, right?
Yes.
But then plan B, it's like, what did people not see behind the curtains? And that's like when you have those self-doubts. And that, for me, I'm so blessed that I have my family still. Like I still have my parents in town, alive, that they're constantly encouraging me, like, dale mijo, 100%. You're right. You know what I mean? Give it your everything. And yes, if you have a significant other, a partner, I mean, that's like the biggest transparent person you can be with, right? You can tell them all the struggles, everything you have. And then from there, they're lifting you up. They're always constantly lifting you up. And then your friends,
Totally. Yeah. And having a good partner, I think, is super important too.
Make it or break it.
Yes. Somebody that you can, number one, feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And two, that they're not going to utilize that vulnerability against you later.
That's scary.
Right. So being able to have that person that really trusts, that you can trust in, to really kind of safeguard your vulnerability and cheer you on still, is definitely a huge plus. I can tell you do it. Your support system is very strong. I know that back in high school, you were asked to do a letter regarding a hero. Like, you were supposed to write about hey, who's a hero figure in your life?
Yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of the other guys, all the kids in your classroom were writing about, the billionaires, the movie stars, the athletes, stuff like that. And you decided to write a letter about your dad.
Yeah. Did you ask me this question before?
No. I did a little research here, Jonathan.
What?
So you decided to write a letter about your dad instead. And so,
yeah,
I have an 18-year-old who's going to be graduating high school in May. And I can tell you, like, relationship between parents and adolescents and teenagers is very difficult. It's very challenging. And it's also in just natural process of separation, right? Because as a teenager, you're starting to kind of figure out, what is my identity? Like, who am I? And I think by nature, your brain starts to kind of block your parents out.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and forces you to try to go and look for other data out there that can validate maybe what you're thinking or feeling. And so for you to still be able to have such a strong relationship with your dad through high school and your parents in general, what was it about your dad and yours relationship that made you feel that this is the guy that I'm going to write about?
Yeah. You're not with the FBI, right? You're not, I know, with the,
No.
that's so funny. Yeah. That's a hard one because I feel like a lot of kids find themselves in that position where they're almost blind to the closest people around them because your parents are your number one supporters. Like if you pick anyone in the room that's like gonna have your back 100%, it's gonna be your parents.
But they're always nagging you.
And they're always nagging you, and you always think for some reason you know better than them, right? And so I think that one thing my dad has always shown me is that he leads by example. We all fall short eventually,
Yeah.
but what I've seen is that he's just like a noble character guy. And I literally like with all my heart will always say that I have the best dad in the world because like I remember there was this one time where we were on a trip in Texas and we were like at the beach. It was not the prettiest beach. But when all the family was sitting at the beach, kind of like just looking at the water, we like lost him for a second. We were like, where is he? And he by himself was just picking up trash into a plastic bag that he saw. And like, I was just like, who are you? Why would you do that? And so then, and through his like noble character, I've just like learned that I actually do have a lot to learn from him. And so it took me like humbling myself and realizing like, I really don't know it all. And wise counsel does come from older people that like really showed me like, wow, like that's the type of person I want to be. Cause that's the same question you get asked in high school is that your hero often is the person you actually just want to be. You want to be that strong Superman. You want to be that wise Einstein or Tony Stark, right? And then I looked at my dad and I was like, I want to be that person who behind closed doors is still picking up trash.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing it for glory. He wasn't doing it for his family to be like, oh, you're so cool. He was just doing it because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so that's the person I want to be. That's eventually who becomes your hero. And so, yeah, that's like a quick little snippet of my dad. It's so funny that you found that out.
Well, I can tell you something. He said that he's very proud of you and that while back then you were the one that looked up to him, he says that the roles have almost reversed and that he actually now starts to look up to you and the man you become.
I'm sorry.
So that speaks a ton about your character, young man.
Thank you. I appreciate
And on that note, I mean, you guys, for being so young and so new into the industry, I mean, I remember walking into the open house where I first met you.
it. Love at first sight, man.
And the well, this aura that you portray, how you carry yourself, how well spoken you are.
Thank you.
You know, it was just like, this guy is gonna go far. I don't know where he's at in business yet, so he's either far or he's going to be far. And I mean, some of your reviews from past clients say that, right? I mean, you can tell Jonathan really cares about his clients. He puts a ton of hard work into everything he does. He's persistent, integrous, and excels at what he does. He's confident, and that confidence is contagious. True. I would 100% trust Jonathan to buy my next home. That's one. And then there's this other one that also stood up to me.
These are cool.
I am so grateful I get to recommend Jonathan Silva. Like, I am so grateful I get to recommend.
Wow. I paid him to sit.
He's kind to adults and kids. My family loves him. Authentic, honest, and his communication and is trustworthy. When you work with him, you will experience how passionate he is about helping you make your vision turn into reality. It is so exciting and refreshing to partner with Jonathan.
Wow, that like shakes me up. That's crazy.
And I think that goes in part with like the values, the top, 3 values that your dad described you as, which were love, truthful, and well-spoken and compelling. That's how he described you. Yeah. So, and you can tell that this is how you run business in life. You just also recently got engaged. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much. Nervous a sec, but really excited.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where do you see yourself? What philosophy runs your business right now, and where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. Um, a lot of it I do associate with a group, and a lot of it comes back down to following the Lord, right? Following God.
Okay.
And with that, it determines a lot of my business because it's principle. And so when it comes down to like, man, they love my kids, it's like I want to be I'm always working with my family. That's how I think about it. I'm working
Right.
with family. I'm working with family. And like, as a lot of people, realtors get like the worst reputation, like salesmen. They're like the new version of like car salesmen, I feel like, because they're like looked at as like almost like getting a check. But if this is the biggest purchase of your life, one of the biggest purchases, unless you're a millionaire and you're getting a yacht or whatever. But like the house is so important. So my goal is to treat you like my family. If my dad's buying a house, I'm gonna make sure that the roof's not leaking. I'm gonna make sure that he's not overpaying for this house. Or if we're touring a house, I don't want him to be like, this guy's like showing me this house and it's feeling stiff. It's like, let's have fun. Let's look at it together. We're shopping with friends, you know? And so that's the philosophy I try to follow, is that it's got to be a fun experience, because if it's not, then I mean, why can't you have fun with everything you do, you know? And so that's where I'm trying to lead that way. And where I see myself in 5 years is always a daunting question, because I feel like it's so unforeseen. Like, man, what could happen in 5 years? Currently engaged, is there going to be a mini John running around? It's like, who knows, right? Currently hoping not too soon. But like, where do I see myself in 5 years? It's where do I want to be? That's a great question.
Do you see yourself still under a team? Do you see yourself maybe starting your own team? Do you see yourself at a certain level of production?
Yeah, I try to always like envision myself with something. And so I always try to see and visualize, like visualization is like the best tool, I think, for everyone, because when you know where you want to go, you kind of like figure out the back end.
Backward engineering.
Well, you got to figure out where you're going to be able to figure that out, right?
Right.
And so I try to like close my eyes and like envision, okay, well, I see my fiance in the house, I see myself with the green grass, and then I see myself like going to work, and what does that look like? With the team I'm currently with Tyler Smith, has been great.
Great team, by the way.
Amazing team. Like, he's taught me so much. He has so much more experience. And right now it's like there's so much growth heading in that direction with the vision and what is to come, like the growth, the community outreach that's going to come along with it, that I can't actually accomplish on my own. And so thinking of just more than me, what can the team do, not to just produce, but to also impact people around me? That's the vision I love, and that's the vision I want to partner with. And so it's not just how much can John produce, but rather like how much can John change the world.
Ooh,
right? Because it's not, at the end of the day, it's like, oh man, I went to work today, we got under contract, but those are actually like people's lives that are changing forever.
Yes.
And so when you find yourself in the mentality of not just, when can I close this deal, to this family's life is going to change forever because I'm included, it puts a little bit more weight on your shoulders, right? And I'm sure it's the same with you. You're like, man, like finances are a huge part of this entire process. I mean, how can I do the best for these people?
Absolutely.
And so staying under the same team, I think, is where my heart's at. I do want to continue to excel in the craft and the process and the system. And so that's definitely maybe a little bit intimidating at first. But under proper guidance, I think the Treasure Valley is such a really like humble place, great place for people to meet. Like, you're so encouraging. A lot of the people, the office is really important. Like, what environment are you putting yourself in? Because I know there's some dog eat dog environments, and that's that, you know, if that's what you want, that's totally fine.
Right.
But Voice of Premier, not to like do a shameless plug, but it really helped me out. Making sure you pick the right path is going to make or break you. Totally. Because if you don't have any support systems, like we were talking about earlier, you're going to be in that statistic that like 90% of realtors fail in their first 2 years or something like that.
Right. So culture is a big deal.
It's the culture for sure. It's massive.
Awesome, man. Well, I really want to thank you. And obviously you work with all kinds of buyers and sellers, right? There's no there's nobody that you wouldn't work with. So how do people best find you?
Best find me. Social media.
Yeah.
I think social media at John Silva, that's been really great because I'm trying to get community insights a lot more.
Sure.
And I think I'm providing a lot of value that way with new things in Meridian. I've been focusing a lot more with like Meridian Boise instead of the outer, maybe like Kuna or Napa or things like that.
Got it.
So I think social media has been a great plug for myself and keeping in touch with all the family and friends that are in the biz.
Yeah, clients and everything. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you really taking the time to come and kind of talk to us about who Jonathan Silva is.
Who Jonathan Silva?
You know?
Yeah,
I love it. Thanks, my man.
Awesome. Thank you.
God bless. You too, my brother.